So we want to, again, jump into a little bit more analysis of what this immunity case means for President Trump. Of course, we'll talk about Joe Biden as well, this decision-making there, his family gathering together. We're hearing that, we should get some final decision from Biden. Now, so far, he said he is running again, so I don't expect there to be a big announcement if he is just going to stay on course, but obviously it would be a big announcement if he was to say that he was just going to finish out this term and open up the delegates in August and give people a chance to start campaigning internally inside the Democrat Party for the presidential nomination. There's a whole host of Democrats that we could go through, but I think first we want to kind of figure out is, and I'll go to Harry Hutchins on this. Harry, the idea that some are saying because of this the ruling by the U.S. Supreme Court on official acts and these cases by Jack Smith, that basically they are now, this one out of D.C. is dead because the focus of that was how do you get to the federal law, and now the federal law would typically be covered by this official acts definition if lower courts agree with that. And if so, you've got a very weak case. You would have to go back to a grand jury and almost restart what you were charging him with.
I think that's precisely correct. And it's very likely that Jack Smith, before the D.C. district court judge, would have to reframe the charges. All of this would likely delay those particular cases. And now we have learned that the Supreme Court's decision on Monday with respect to immunity may also impact Alvin Bragg's case in Manhattan, because Alvin Bragg decided to widen the case in Manhattan. Keep in mind that essentially what was charged in Manhattan had to do with 11 counts related to invoices from Michael Cohen, 11 counts related to checks, 12 counts related to ledger entries, essentially accounting entries. And so then Alvin Bragg decided to bring in White House staff, and that then has implications with respect to the Supreme Court's decision-making on Monday, suggesting that official acts of the president are entitled at least to the presumption of absolute immunity, if not complete absolute immunity.
Well, that's what the lower courts are going to have to decide, which is why this puts the kind of intermediary courts in a holding pattern, because all these cases have been sent back down, Harry, to figure out, okay, if you got a question, if one's an official act, we've got to determine that, if it's official or not. And we kind of have to set a bar for that. If it's not official, is it then something criminal that we could prosecute? If it was official, is there something about that official act that somehow took it out of official act to be treated differently because it was such a bad action that it shouldn't be covered by official act? That is fact-heavy analysis that Jack Smith was hoping not to have to go through. And now to bring these cases, as Judge Merchant said, because there might not even be a reason for him to rule on these proceedings, on sentencing, like the whole case could be tossed out, he's got to go through an entirely new fact pattern.
I think that's correct. But part of the issue, of course, is Alvin Bragg's unlimited ambition. In other words, he took New York State misdemeanor charges and then tried to bootstrap a misdemeanor case into a felony case. But in order to do that, he had to rely on a federal violation, which the judge declined to charge the jury with a focus on. So I think at the end of the day, what we have is an attempt to get Trump as opposed to an attempt to basically find a basis for justice.
Well, and Jordan, what can't be overlooked here is the politics of it all.
Right.
One, the fact that both of these prosecutors, both Alvin Bragg and Jack Smith, were leading political charges the entire time, trying to elevate these charges because they wanted to have the most political impact against President Trump. But now you also have the Democrats in a tailspin, not just about the victories at the Supreme Court for President Trump, which you see. Yeah. Well, and if you watched the press briefing yesterday with Karine Jean-Pierre, you expected it to be all focused on the immunity decision and how the White House was going to handle that and what that meant. barely at all. All of it about the president's fitness to run and serve another term, because the carryover from the debate last Thursday is still so palpable that you're getting headlines like this from the New York Times this morning. Biden told Ally that he is weighing whether to continue the race. And essentially, he told this key ally that he knows he may not be able to salvage his candidacy if he cannot convince the public in the coming days that he's up for the job after the disastrous debate. He's got a high-profile interview with George Stephanopoulos. They're filming it on Friday. Portions will be aired Friday night. And then the full, longer, their full edited version will be released on ABC this week on Sunday. But he knows that he has to show up and somehow calm the fears of the public with a pre-taped interview with a friendly George Stephanopoulos. Pre-taped. And he has 2 events in Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. What is your read on the politics of this?
He is fine when he has the teleprompter and he's in front of 10,000 people or 5,000 people, whatever it is, cheering his name with these chants, 4 more years, or, lock him up and all these different things. And he's laughing, and they put a lot more makeup on him and they tan him up and he looks better, and he's standing at the stage. He's got the 2 teleprompters and he's a pro at that for the most part, though. Occasionally he starts reading the words like, repeat it one more time. And he says it. Repeat again.
Long pause.
Yeah, long pause. I mean, some of it you're like, oh, this is... But he certainly looks a lot better than what he did at the debate. So I think what his campaign is trying to say is, listen, look at how Joe Biden appears to be delivering the message the next couple of times you see him out over the July 4th holiday and the July 4th holiday weekend. And if you like that Joe Biden, just remember, he had a bad first debate. We can correct that. We can figure that out. We've only got 1 more of those to get through. And we can deliver on our policy and still scare people from Donald Trump. The issue is that, like we said, if key Democrats and more are coming out each day, I mean, supposedly they were having to talk Joe Manchin out of doing it on Sunday on the TV, and that came out today. But that they are literally would love these key Democrats to have Joe Biden make an announcement that he will serve out the rest of this term, then open up his delegates to appoint someone who will be better to take on Donald Trump based off the debate performance and the fact that he has, by that debate performance, all of the characterizations by President Trump and the campaign and the conservative world became real. They came to life during that debate.
Jordan, another question. This is kind of the donkey in the room, not the elephant, because it's the Democrats, but the leaked internal polling came out today. So internal polls that are conducted by the campaigns really help them make their decisions about where they're going to spend resources, where they're going to go. And it had disastrous numbers. He lost an average of 2 points in every battleground state, which puts him up in North Carolina, Georgia, up 10 in Arizona, up 9 in Nevada, up 7 in Pennsylvania, and 7 in Michigan. One, how important are these polls to a campaign? There's also, someone did a theoretical within the margin of error. That's the map you see. That's how many states it could be if Trump wins in the margin of error states. How important are these polls to a campaign? And one, what does it tell you that this was leaked? Because normally these aren't public.
These are more important to a campaign like Joe Biden's than any other, because he had such a bad performance that people in his own party are saying, look, it's not that we don't like Joe Biden. It's that we don't believe Joe Biden has the energy or the competence to be the nominee, that Donald Trump is going to crush him, that he has characterized him as this, and he's put this characterization out that he doesn't have the energy, doesn't have the ability to really do this work. Sure, he can do rallies, but when it comes to actually going into a debate, talking on tough issues, couldn't look his opponent in the eye, didn't know where he was, couldn't finish his thoughts or his tried to memorize those sentences. And so because of that, they are looking for any other savior to come in and try to give them someone they can be proud to vote for, not just because of policies, but they can trust that this person is going to govern effectively and be there when necessary to make the tough decisions, Harry. And I think that's what it's a very hard argument to make with Joe Biden, that he is going to be there all the time to make those tough decisions.
I think that's correct. And so I think the watchword over the next 24 to 48 hours cycle will be dementia, Alzheimer's, mental acuity, and beating Medicare, which has become Joe Biden's signature line.
Yes, the beating Medicare. I think that was it. I think Donald Trump handled it so well. I think, again, that's why you're hearing very quiet in the Trump world. Because when your opponent is spiraling, let them continue to spiral. Now, right now, we're preparing to submit a key filing at the ICC this afternoon to defend Israel from lawfare. We're filing a major brief to defund Planned Parenthood at the Supreme Court on Friday, and we can't take any of these crucial cases without you. Donate today at aclj.org and have your tax-deductible gift doubled. Be part of our Life and Liberty Challenge at aclj.org.